This one's for couples. 13 embarrassing questions. Who overthinks everything? Who showers less? Who is always eating? Who has a nicer butt? Who is more possessive? Who drools more? Who is a better driver? Who curses more?
Before we enter into tonight's story, I need you to do something for me. Look at your phone. See that little red subscribe button? Here's the thing. The algorithm only shows these stories to people who engage. And every case I cover, every victim I fight for, every family I give a voice to, it all depends on you hitting that button. Because the dead can't speak for themselves. But we can speak for them. So subscribe now. Turn on notifications. Because what you're about to hear will change how you see love, loyalty, and the price of blind faith forever.
What the girl? And you live, baby? We turning up, We just ate breakfast. Y'all, this is so beautiful, isn't it? Y'all just don't understand. I ordered this Bible. The reason I got this Bible, y'all, you think I've been reading? I told him I could read some couple scripture of this Bible, y'all. But I ordered this Bible from Amazon. But in reality, it's like a lock safe box. He don't know that what's in there. So y'all had to know I couldn't put the whole 10,000 in there plus the ring. So I don't know how much thousands I got in there with the ring. But I have the rest of the thousands in my purse.
The ring came back covered in blood. Not hers, but his. From where he'd clutched it so tight while pulling the trigger that the metal cut into his palm. 7 days. That's how long a marriage lasted. 7 days from I do to I'm sorry to a roadside in Dallas where the crows were already circling. She'd waited 5 years. Through glass visits and collect calls. Through promises that tasted like metal and hope that burned like cheap cigarettes. She called him her king, bought him gold, handed him 10 grand like it was pocket change. For staying alive, she'd whispered, pressing the cash into his hands. He stayed alive all right. Long enough to make sure she didn't. The neighbors heard the fighting, the screaming, the sudden, violent silence that follows a gunshot like thunder follows lightning. But they didn't call the police until morning when the smell started drifting through the walls. By then, she was already gone. Dumped like trash on Farm Road 1382, her wedding dress still hanging in the closet, tags still on. This isn't about love gone wrong. This is about a woman who built a man from nothing, piece by piece, dollar by dollar, and the moment he realized he could destroy her faster than she could save him. The signs were there. Hidden in prison letters. Whispered through phone calls that cost $3.99 a minute. Carved into the silence between his words. But nobody reads the fine print on a love story. Nobody except the dead. She was born into a small, close-knit family in Dallas. A girl raised on love, laughter, and hard lessons. Her name was Dishaye Stevenson, but everyone called her Dish. By the time she was a teenager, she understood what it meant to carry weight. Not just dreams, but responsibility. Her mother suffered a stroke and never fully recovered. Dish stepped in without being asked. She helped dress her, bathe her, feed her, never complaining, never asking why. Her daughter, Maya, was still young then. And Dish was determined to give her the kind of life she never had. There was no silver spoon. No head start. Just ambition and a vision. She didn't want a job. She wanted ownership. She didn't want to clock in. She wanted to build. At first, she sold clothes out of her apartment, fitting customers in her living room, packaging orders at midnight, modeling pieces herself on social media. It wasn't glamorous. It was grit, hustle, late nights and early mornings. But she made it work. And the city noticed. The more she posted, the more she sold. Women wanted what she wore. Men asked her for advice. Her confidence wasn't loud, it was radiant. And her smile, the kind that made people stay longer than they planned, became her signature. In 2021, she completed a tax course and joined a growing firm. By May 2022, she had upgraded her storefront, expanding into a bigger space to meet demand. With her sister Jasmine by her side, Dishaye turned her business into a brand. She was known for her clothes, yes, but even more for her spirit. always giving, always lifting. She was the one people called when they needed a ride, a loan, a meal, or just to feel seen. She cooked for family gatherings, brought wine to girls' nights, and left the biggest tips at restaurants. She wasn't rich, but she moved like a woman who believed she would be. And slowly, surely, she was becoming one. Dish lived with her daughter. Their bond was more than mother and child. It was a friendship, a partnership, a daily reminder of why she worked so hard. Every decision Dish made began and ended with Maya. There were no headlines then. No sirens. Just a woman building her world brick by brick, with grit in her hands and love in her chest. But love, real love, that was the one thing still missing. And when it finally showed up, wearing quiet eyes and a soft smile, she opened her heart without hesitation. She thought she had found the piece that made everything complete. She was wrong.
Birthday, baby. You got the grip. And you leave, baby? We turn up, we turn up. We just ate breakfast. Y'all, this is so beautiful, isn't it? Y'all just don't understand. I ordered this Bible. The reason I got this Bible, y'all, you think I've been reading? I told him I'm going to read some couple scripture of this Bible, y'all. But I ordered this Bible from Amazon. But in reality, it's like a lock safe box. He don't know that what's in there. So y'all had to know I couldn't put the whole 10,000 in there plus the ring. So I don't know how much thousands I got in there with the ring. But I have the rest of the thousands in my purse. So here come Easy.
He came into her life quietly. Older. Soft-spoken. Not the flashy type. The kind of man who didn't demand attention but always seemed to hold the room. His name was Michael Smith, but online he called himself Miracle Me. And for a woman who had carried so much on her own, a miracle was exactly what Dishaye thought she had found. He wasn't like the others. He didn't ask for much. He listened. Or at least he acted like he did. In a world full of noise and competition, Michael seemed calm. Simple. He had stories about how life had broken him early, about taking care of himself since he was 11, about growing up in the streets, sleeping wherever the night allowed. There was no structure in his childhood, no father to protect him, no roof that didn't leak. To Dish, it made sense. His quietness wasn't cold, it was trauma. His stillness wasn't control, it was survival. She believed him, believed in him. When he was arrested in 2016, the world could have shifted. Most women would have walked away. But Dish stayed. She visited. She wrote letters. She sent money. She kept his name alive. For 5 years, she showed up, not just for him, but for the dream she believed he could become. While he sat behind bars, she built the life that would be waiting when he got out. And he never had to question her loyalty. Not once. By the time May 2021 arrived, and Michael walked out of that prison gate, Dishaye was there, face beat, heart full, arms wide open. To outsiders, it looked like redemption. A woman standing beside her man. A second chance for love. But love isn't always pure. And second chances aren't always deserved. What Dish couldn't see, what no one saw, was the man behind the mask. Michael Smith was not simply broken. He was hollow in places love could not reach. Not by accident, but by design. His pain was real. But it had turned into something else. Something colder, sharper, more calculated. He was what therapists call a covert narcissist. Not loud. Not boastful. But deeply manipulative. A man who plays the victim while slowly becoming the villain. A man who appears grateful while quietly resenting the hand that feeds him. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. He learned how to take control without ever looking like he had it. His weapon wasn't charm, it was pity. His hook wasn't love, it was guilt. And Dish, with her big heart and open hands, was the perfect target. She thought she was saving him. He was already planning how to keep her. He had only been free for 7 days. 1 week out of prison, and Dishaye married him. No hesitation. No prenup. No long engagement. Just a trip to the courthouse and a signature that changed everything. To her, it wasn't rushed. It was right. She had waited 5 years. Stood by him when he had nothing. So why wait now? The photos told a story of devotion. Her smiling, holding his hand, looking at him like he was the answer to every hard year that came before. And when she shared it all online, the caption didn't just celebrate him. It worshipped him. But Michael? He didn't post much. He didn't shout her name like she shouted his. He played the part, but never from the heart. And even as the world congratulated them, something about his silence lingered. In September, just months after the courthouse ceremony, Dish threw the wedding of her dreams, a full-blown, luxury event with silk, flowers, lights, music, and magic. She paid for it all. Every detail. Every ring. Every bite of food. Every thread on his suit. She even gifted him $10,000 in cash. It wasn't a loan. It wasn't a favor. It was a love offering, proof, in her eyes, that she believed in him, trusted him, cherished him. She gave, and gave, and gave. But Michael never matched her energy. Not in love. Not in effort. Not even in presence. He showed up, but his soul stayed elsewhere. In public, she praised him like a prize. Called him her king. Shared pictures, memories, milestones. She filled the internet with words like blessed, grateful, forever. But behind the camera, his eyes rarely met hers. He wasn't cruel, not yet. Just detached. Distant. Cold where she was warm. Silent where she was loud. Still where she was shining. She called it balance. But it was the beginning of control. And he knew exactly what he was doing. By letting her lead, he made her believe the love was mutual. By staying quiet, he made her fill in the blanks. And by doing less, he made her work harder to keep the dream alive. She didn't realize it then, but the man she married had no intention of growing with her. He only wanted to stand beside her long enough to claim everything she built.
New ice on his hand. Don't play with his fucking wife. Don't play with my nigga. Those real diamonds. Tell him, baby, we gonna wear nothing for diamonds, baby. Real diamonds. Cost a pretty penny, but it's real diamonds, baby. I'll work for you. I could lose everything today. I know I get it back just because of you. I know you so much, Meezy. Yeah, that's right. New ice for my nigga.
The shift didn't happen all at once. It was quiet, subtle, like a dimmer being turned down in a room once filled with light. At first, Dishaye was still herself, still posting, still glowing, still building. But those closest to her began to notice something fading. Her energy thinned. Her eyes didn't sparkle the same. Her smile, once wide and wild, started to shrink around the edges. Michael had begun pulling strings, softly but with precision. He didn't shout or slam doors. His power lived in the small things. Who she could talk to, where she could go, how often she had to prove she wasn't cheating, even when she'd barely left the house. He grew agitated when her business started booming. When strangers on the internet praised her body. When customers showed her love. What should have made him proud made him bitter. He wanted her successful, but not too successful. Independent, but not unreachable. He didn't want a partner. He wanted proof that someone like him could own something beautiful. She stopped going out as much. She stopped calling as much. She stopped dreaming out loud. Family noticed, but not in ways they could name. Her sister Jasmine remembered how sweet he acted at cookouts, how polite he was when others were around. He was soft-spoken, helpful, the kind of man you almost felt sorry for. No one saw it coming. Not even her. Because behind closed doors, he was starving her slowly. Every argument was her fault. Every boundary she set became a test of loyalty. Every sign of strength, her business, her friendships, her joy, made him feel smaller. And so, to feel big again, he chipped away at her light. Dishaye, once bold and electric, began to move more carefully. Watch what she wore. Watch what she posted. Watch how much she smiled around other men. And still she stayed. She stayed because she thought it was love. Because he had once told her, "Bae, I know I take you through some T, but keep overlooking the obstacles." She didn't hear control in that. She heard hope. But those weren't obstacles. They were warnings. And every time she ignored them, she disappeared a little more. Until her life was no longer her own. 3 days before it happened, she said it out loud. She called her sister on October 21, 2023, to wish her a happy birthday. They laughed as sisters do. Nothing felt heavy at first. But just before they hung up, her voice changed. Softer. Uneasy. She said, "I feel like I'm going to die." Her sister tried to brush it off. Maybe she was tired. Maybe she was just being dramatic. Dishaye didn't explain it, and she didn't bring it up again. But something inside her was already whispering that the end was near. The days that followed were filled with arguments. Michael was spiraling. He knew she wanted out. She had said it before, but this time, it was real. She was tired. Done with the disrespect, the control, the weight of carrying a man who gave nothing back. She wanted a divorce. But Michael didn't believe in leaving. Not unless he decided. Not unless he was done with you first. And he wasn't. On October 24th, he called her. Said they could meet at his father's apartment. Neutral ground. Just a conversation. She agreed. Maybe she still hoped he'd listen. Maybe she wanted closure. Maybe she just wanted peace. There's no footage of the phone call. No recording of what she was thinking. But what we do have is real. Surveillance cameras showing 2 cars arriving separately that afternoon. His car. We see her get out. We see her step into his passenger seat. And then we see nothing. No one knows what he said in those first moments. What promises he made. What lies he told. But the conversation didn't last long. He drove. Not toward peace. Not toward safety. He took her away from houses. Away from help. Onto a lonely stretch of road near Murdoch Drive. Quiet, hidden, empty. And there, in that silence, he pulled a gun from wherever he kept it. He aimed it at the woman who waited 5 years for him. The woman who gave him everything. And he shot her in the chest. No words. No warning. Just the sound of a heart stopping in the hands of the man it loved. She didn't beg. She didn't run. There was no time. Afterwards he pulled over. Opened the door. Dragged her out. And left her there, body limp, one sandal still on, the other forgotten in his car. Then he drove away. Just like that. No panic. No guilt. No turning back. He went home, parked the car and took a walk, as if none of it happened. As if she never existed. And by the time the sun went down, her blood was already cold. The call came early on October 25th. A woman's body had been found near a cemetery on Murdoch Road in southeast Dallas. No ID on her. No pulse. One shoe. A faint trail of blood on the asphalt, already drying under the Texas morning sun. When officers arrived, they could see it wasn't random. She hadn't been robbed. She hadn't been hidden. She had been discarded. It didn't take long to put a name to her face. By mid-morning, family members had already begun searching. They'd found her car abandoned at the Pleasant Village housing complex, the same place Michael's father lived. The same place he told her to meet him the day before. The scene inside the car told its own story. The passenger seat was stained with blood. A shell casing lay wedged beneath the mat. And in the footwell, Dishaye's missing sandal. When police knocked on Michael's door, he was gone. But the evidence remained, multiple guns inside the home, all legally questionable. Surveillance footage from nearby cameras confirmed the timeline. He had driven away alone. They found him later that day at a local Dallas barbershop. Sitting. As if nothing had happened. He told officers he was high. Said he'd used PCP the night before. Claimed he didn't remember everything. That it was all a blur. But Michael wasn't new to the drug. He had used it before. Bragged about it. Laughed with friends about the red haze it created. This wasn't a man caught off guard by a chemical reaction. This was a man who used chaos as cover. A man who knew exactly what to say and what not to say when he wanted to distance himself from the monster he had already chosen to become. The truth is, this wasn't an accident. It wasn't a drug-fueled mistake. It was a decision. He couldn't control her anymore. So he ended her. Because the idea of Dishaye living without him, thriving without him, was something his ego couldn't survive. He had to erase her to feel like a man. And now, he sits behind bars again. But this time, there is no one coming to visit. No letters. No prayers. No love waiting at the gate. Only silence.
Like, I don't understand. I would respect him more if he tell me why.
We definitely need strength. We need prayer.
There is a silence, too, in the spaces Dishaye once filled. In her daughter's room. In her mother's hands. In her sister's voice when she tries to say her name. But there is also clarity now about the signs. About what love is and what it isn't. When someone mocks your strength, isolates your joy, and asks you to shrink to stay close, that is not love. When they demand loyalty while offering nothing back, that is not partnership. When they twist your kindness into chains, that is abuse. If you feel afraid, unheard, or slowly erased, listen to that voice. Don't wait for the damage to become permanent. Plan your exit. Quietly. Safely. With help. There are shelters. Hotlines. People who will believe you before it's too late. Dishaye's story is not just a tragedy. It is a mirror. Let it reflect what you need to see. Let it remind you. You are not too difficult to love. You are not asking for too much. And you are never, ever better off staying silent. She trusted the wrong person with her whole heart. But you? You can trust me to keep telling these stories. To keep fighting for the forgotten. To keep pulling back the curtain on the monsters who walk among us. If this story shook you, if it made you think twice about the red flags you've ignored, the warning signs you've dismissed, then do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button like your life depends on it. Because someone else's might. Ring the notification bell. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. And drop a comment below if you've ever ignored your gut instinct about someone. Because your story might save another life. The dead don't get second chances. But the living? We do. Until next time, stay aware. Stay alive. And remember, the most dangerous person in your life might be the one you trust the most. I'm Mayor, and this has been American Crime Hives. Subscribe now because the next story I tell might be the one that saves your life.